I grew up in the South Bronx while the Bronx was burning. I would smell the smoke every day on my way to school, not realizing the redlining and the political aspects of it all. When I look back on the way I grew up, it hurts my heart. Seeing the violence on the streets and watching my mother become a victim of domestic violence and experiencing the abuse was something I dealt with on a regular. I'll never forget the Christmas when I was about 9. My father and mother were fighting again. I don't know why or don't know what it was about. But it escalated to the point where I had enough and had to jump in. My father threw me out the door, along with the Christmas tree, along with the rest of us. We spent that Christmas night walking in the snow to my grandma's house on the other side of the Bronx. I'll never forget that night. I never wanted to become a father like my dad. But as much as I tried to deny it, my father, it made me the man I am. All the anger, violence I saw at home was the only way I knew how to resolve my problems. As the violence in the streets in my neighborhoods got worse, my mother began to send us to Connecticut for the summers. It was the first time I got to smell trees and to hear crickets chirp. Those times I had in a new place was like a breath of fresh air. I found myself dreading going back to New York. After a series of shootouts, my mother moved us to Connecticut, which helped change my life a lot. But I still carried the anger and resentment with me. I got into a lot of trouble as a teenager. I sold drugs, I hung around with people I shouldn't have been hanging around with, and done a lot of things I shouldn't have done. Coming from the inner city, I saw and experienced trauma every day. In the inner city, we're not taught how to de-escalate. Instead, we're taught how to run and get a gun and take things to the next level. But it's a cycle that can be broken by teaching our kids the value of their life and the lives of others. I remember my senior year of high school, I was about to have my daughter Jaleesa, and I knew I needed to do better for her and myself. I remember my best friend's dad was a pastor. I used to call him Uncle Sam. He was dear to me. He sat me down one day and said, "Lovey, you have a light in you. That's why all these boys gravitate around you. And one day you use that light for good." To hear someone believe in me meant everything, and I started to do just that. I stopped hanging in the streets. I was determined to give my daughter the life I couldn't have. And shortly after that, I had my son Marquise in my life. I was ready to become a happy family with my children's mother, but life threw me another curveball. I lost Stacy to lupus. So when I had my youngest son, Levante, I was already mentally prepared for being a single parent. It wasn't until later on I figured out how much the mental scars hurt much more than the physical scars. But I also knew that God was still working on me and working on empathy in my heart. I read a book by Tupac later on, and in this book was a poem called A Rose That Grew from Concrete. That book opened my eyes and changed my heart towards parenting. Knowing that no matter what my father did, I forgive him. No matter where I came from, no matter what I go through, no matter what life throws at me, I can do better for my children. I can teach them the skills I didn't have, coach them through any difficult situations, disagreements, and create change in our neighborhood. I won't let yesterday define my tomorrow. I am a rose that grew from concrete.